My major worry was his foul language when he said that we are masturbating. The Supreme Court have sacked us and that he's laughing at us because we are still holding on to the leadership and masturbating in the party. And I felt that he's not the only one who can use counter language. And I want to reply him as follows. Number one, Dwafi and Lilliputian men used to be men of great ideas. It is Alex Otti that I will see, who is not only Dwafi in appearance, but also Dwafi in knowledge.
Julius Abure resorting to insult in response to Alex Otti, the governor of Abia State. Like the saying goes, people who don't have superior arguments, they always resort to insult. Besides, that's not what Alex Otti meant in that interview. We'll see that in a moment. Abure is a lawyer by training. He should understand the statement masturbating on an issue. That's exactly what Alex Otti meant. He was simply trying to say that if you go to court, you win in the first instance, the other party appeals, you win again in that instance, and the party takes the matter to the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court now sets aside all the wins you've gotten from the lower courts. And what are these wins? These courts affirmed Abure as the chairman of Labour Party, and the Supreme Court nullified the affirmation. As a matter of fact, Abure celebrated these wins when he got them. Now, the major reason the other party appealed the judgment was to nullify the declaration that he is the chairman, which the Supreme Court already made in their judgment. So what is Abure still doing, acting as if he is still the chairman of Labour Party? So when someone looks at the whole matter and refers Abure's actions as that he is masturbating on the issue, it's not an insult, it's an expression in English language. So Abure continuing with his posturing shows that he is very lawless. The same court he ran to for judgment, he got judgment in his favor in the first instance, he also got judgment on appeal. Now, after losing at the Supreme Court, he's now picking and choosing which judgment to obey. He has now become an interpreter, twisting the judgment to suit his own narrative. And he is pushing hard. How can he sit in any meeting that is illegal, by the way, whether NWC or NEC? He can't be sitting there after the Supreme Court judgment. But even at that, he had the audacity to convene a committee to sanction the only governor under Labour Party. Can he do this? It's just like an executive committee in the APC setting up a committee to sanction Tinubu. Yes, that's what it looks like. And these guys don't know how political party works. Yes, they see this as a company. Since they've been in Labour Party before all these new politicians came into the party, they feel, no, this is our property, we are not letting go. We cannot allow the people that we welcomed into the party to displace us. No, that's not how a political party works. Not just parties, any organization that elects its leaders. You can't sit there as the chairman, as the leader of that organization permanently. No, it never works. When you serve your time, you give way for others to serve theirs. That's how it works. And once you lose the support of the members of the party, your position becomes untenable, even if your tenure hasn't expired. These are basics. It's just that they are being typical Nigerians. They don't want to leave, despite the fact that they no longer have the support of the members. Not just the members, even elected members. Nearly 99% of elected members under the Labour Party are against the leadership of Julius Abure. Even the NLC that owns Labour Party. NLC registered Labour Party back in the early days, in the early 2000s under Obasanjo. Where was Julius Abure then? So political parties under a democracy are like vehicles that politicians ride to get to power. So no one can lead a political party forever or indefinitely. No, you have to give way for others, especially when you are no longer popular. All these are happening because INEC has refused to strike off the name of Julius Abure as the chairman of Labour Party, despite the fact that Alex Otti, Peter Obi and others presented the CTC of the Supreme Court judgment to them. So if INEC is truly neutral, they are supposed to strike off his name and obey the Supreme Court judgment. The highest decision-making body of the party should be the elected members, starting from Alex Otti down to senators and House of Rep members. INEC should listen to these people. By the way, they've already made a decision. They are behind Nenadi Usman's caretaker committee of the Labour Party. They are charged with uniting the party and setting the way for a national convention. It is in this national convention that new leaders of the party will emerge. When they emerge, INEC can now say, okay, these are the leaders of the party. Unlike the impostors, Julius Abure and co. So these are the issues. So you can see where Julius Abure's confidence is coming from, not just in this press conference, but since the Supreme Court judgment, he's been claiming he's still the chairman, and if his name is still at INEC, then it's not just Julius Abure and his co-travelers that are disobeying a Supreme Court judgment. INEC is also doing that. By continuing recognizing him as the chairman, they are in violation of the Supreme Court judgment. Now, at this stage, what gives? What's the way forward? Remember, before they started going to court, they tried mediating between themselves, negotiating. Can you give way? Let's have another person, or let's have a new leadership. No, he refused outrightly. He doesn't want to negotiate. He wants to continue being the chairman. That's his objective. And if he continues being the chairman after all these struggles, how can you trust him going into 2027? Yes, trust is the main issue. That's why many politicians will decamp to another party. In fact, many are decamping right now from Labour Party to PDP, especially in Enugu State and many other states. So the remaining members will most likely decamp at the end of the day. These remaining members can be said to be the most loyal to Peter Obi. They've refused to decamp to other parties. They want to decamp to any party where he is. So maybe they are waiting for the right time when Peter Obi declares where he's going, assuming they've done everything they can do to make sure that Abure leaves the position. But if at the end of the day it doesn't work, he will still need to decamp to another party in order to contest in 2027, except he no longer wants to contest in 2027. Also, going by the Supreme Court judgment, they've made it clear that most of these back and forth in political parties, the courts are not supposed to delve into them. Yes, they are supposed to be determined by party members. Party members are supposed to solve the problems by themselves. How do you solve the problem in this situation? Some have suggested storming the Labour Party HQ in Abuja and taking over, even if it's violent. Most times, the only language people understand is force. If you don't apply force and a little pressure, they will never yield. Look at what is happening in PDP. In fact, PDP seems like they are in limbo. Yes, no moving forward. If they are not dragging the secretary today, they are dragging another one, they are dragging this. Now they are losing governors. Many will decamp in the coming days. You see, what is going on in political parties today in Nigeria is what is wrong with Nigerian politics. People who haven't done anything in their careers before politics. They've never held a paying job before. They've never worked for a reputable company before in their lives. Maybe the only job they've held is just being SSA to one politician, and they end up in a political party. Bam! It becomes their career. That's why they never want to leave, even after their tenures have expired. Yes, if they had a job somewhere that they left to come and serve in a political party, they will simply go back to that job. It's as simple as that. If they used to have any meaningful thing going on in their lives as far as careers are involved, they wouldn't be spending time going to court to retain their seat in a political party. It's not necessary. How much are you going to make there compared to your career that builds your life? They see politics as their career that they build their livelihood around. Just like Abure, the mansion he's living in today was gotten from politics. He never worked for it like others. So you see why they take the same mentality and attitude into governance. Some of them that end up contesting for positions in government, they end up seeing that position, maybe it's a House of Rep member or maybe it's a governor. They end up seeing these as their careers that they need to build their livelihoods around. So this is the problem with Nigerian politics. Now let's hear what Alex Otti said in that interview with Arise TV's Rufai Oseni.
The party that brought me to power is Labour. Okay? And today we have fought and retrieved the labor. So, and I said I will send you the Supreme Court judgment. So when you finish reading it, you will know that Abure is just masturbating.
Really?
Yes, he's not. He's out. There is. So you can declare yourself. You can declare yourself the president of Nigeria today. You can.
That means,
does that mean Rufai is now the president?
No, but that means his masturbations are of epic proportion because his masturbations are causing gyrations in the Labour Party as we speak.